Okay, well, I don't know if a lot of more people are going to come in. So we're going to begin. Well, it's 12:01. We have to wait a little bit more. It's too early. Today's topic is topics in Mexican society, right? I'm going to mute you guys so that we don't get any background noise. All right. Okay, yeah, I got everybody on mute. That's fine. Okay, guys, we're going to begin. I already have like 14 of you there, and I am recording the session so that in any case you need to go back to the audio or to the video, you can do it. Okay. These third partial, we're gonna talk about topics, various topics, diverse topics of the Mexican society, and the first one that we're gonna begin with is poverty. Okay, so to talk about Mexican society, we first need to explore some generalities. Okay, some generalities, and I have prepared a little presentation for you. I'm going to ask you to get out your notebook, to get out your pen, and start taking notes, because one of the activities that I'm going to ask you to upload to Moodle are the notes. So you're going to have to take pictures of your notes. You're going to take notes, then take pictures of your notes, and then upload them to Moodle. All right. So right now I'm going to present for you. Okay, and that's why I am choosing this app. I hope everything is fine. And okay, you're looking at my presentation. So, full screen. Let's welcome Gael. Okay, so topics of Mexican society, we're gonna see the educational topic, we're gonna see matters about housing in Mexico, we're gonna see the health system, we're gonna see a lot of issues about the differentiation of classes in Mexico, corruption, and well, first we need to get our luggage, our cultural luggage, from the past partials that we saw in some briefly manner all the social sciences. So now we have the psychological perspective, the sociological perspective, the political perspective, the economic perspective, and the history and the geographic perspective. So having watched that, okay. Oh, that's fine, Gael. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's okay. All right. So let's begin. So first of all, we're going to see and look at some Mexican society generalities. Okay. The first thing that we need to see is the population. So right now, Mexico has 128,649,565 as of July 2020. That is obviously a projection, because right now we are in May 2020. It is impossible to have counted July 2020 numbers. So due to mathematical models, we are able to forecast the population in July. Okay, this is pretty accurate, and they have calculated and included in the formula some margin of error. Okay, but approximately, and very, very highly probable to be correct, we are that population by July 2020. And if you look at the table, we are the most populated country, number 10, the 10th most populated country in the whole wide world. If you look at the two first countries that are very, very humongous in population, is China ranking in number 1 and India ranking in number 2. Now, they're apart by a lot, okay, by a lot of population. They're apart by around 70 million people. So China is far, far, far bigger than India. Now, it's a start, okay? It's a start to see that these two countries are the most populated ones. Then comes United States, all these other countries. And in number 10, we have Mexico, Okay, we want with what we just said, 128 million and a half people. Okay, that's the first thing. I'm gonna upload the presentation so that you can finish your notes and we can go a little bit faster. Okay, what is important from the numbers and the statistics is not the numbers themselves. And what we're gonna look for and we're gonna be very careful about observing is the interpretation of these statistics. Okay, what do they tell us? Supposedly, the most populated countries are the ones that are better off. Well, not necessarily, okay, not necessarily, because as we increase the number of population, we may encounter new problems as well. It's more difficult to manage many of the issues. And obviously, if you have a bigger population, it's probable that you have a bigger territory and higher diversity, cultural diversity. So to manage people that speak different languages, that have different customs, that dedicate their life to different sectors of the economy is way far more difficult than managing a little country, okay? So this is the first thing that we need to take into account. Then after we have the total of people that live in Mexico, it is very important that we observe the age structure. Okay, it's not the same to be at the beginning of your life. Yes, sweetie. Of course, of course. Now, I do not pretend that you copy all the numbers. Maybe just copy from this chart, number 1, 2, and just go all the way down to Mexico. Yes, yes, so that you don't have to like rush on taking your notes. Obviously, in the final questionnaire, this partial is going to have a questionnaire. In the final questionnaire, I'm not going to ask you for the numbers. I mean, obviously, you're not going to get a question because that's illogical and it's irrelevant that you know by heart or by memory the population of Pakistan. I mean, we don't, with all due respect for the Pakistani people, we don't care about Pakistani population, okay, or Chinese population. We just need to know that China and India are heading up the list and we're coming 10th. Okay, that's the only thing that we need to know. We're coming 10th, and probably, yes, it's very relevant that we know around how many people we have here. Maybe not with all the commas and the specifications, but yes, 128 million people live in Mexico. That's including me, for example, that I'm not Mexican, but this is the Mexican population that is measuring the people that live within the territories and boundaries of the Mexican Republic. Ready? So I wouldn't really put a lot of attention to the numbers. Right now, it's just the position that we are placed in the chart and how we are going to read this information. Already. And then what is very important right now for all the issues that we're going to examine is the age structure. Why is the age structure so important? Because when I am the government or when I am a social scientist, I need to know how many people belong to each generation, okay? From 0 to 14, we have the 26% of people in Mexico. From 15 to 24 years old, that is people that some of them are still studying, but some of them are going already to be economically active, that is producing money. They're getting jobs. Not everybody has the luck that you and I had when we were teenagers, well, you still are, of only dedicating ourselves to study. A lot of people have to abandon school and go into the labor market already when they're 15 or 16 years old and help the family. That's not our reality, but it's a reality. So that's why they're divided up into these categories. Then we have the 25 to 54 years old chunk of people, and that is very good. That shows that Mexico is very healthy in what comes to populational issues, because we have almost 41% of the people that are the ones that are productive. They're in an age in which they are working, they're producing, and they are kind of like maintaining the whole system. Now, you're gonna observe the statistics divide males and females. Well, why? Because it's very important for some other examples. It's proven by a statistical observation that when we have a overpopulation of female subjects over male subjects, there is an increase of childbirths. That's logical. All right. Now you're gonna see that from 0 to 14 is very, very curious that in this last generation, okay, the people that these are statistics include you because these were taken from a 2017 chart. So in 2017, you were under 14 years old. So that means that your generation from 0 to 14 years, that 26.61%, it is one of the first generations that have less females than males, because usually we have an overpopulation of females over males. The same thing is going to happen from the generation from 15 to 24, maybe your older brothers or your older cousins. Okay, the female population is 1 million less than the males. Note so for the rest. If you look at the chunk of people from 25 to 54 and from 55 to 64, then we have more females over males. Supposedly, genetically and biologically, females are more resistant. However, we have a lot of factors also that diminish our quality of life. And not to blame anything, but just by the fact that we are the ones that bear the child in our wombs, that makes us, well, a little bit more exposed to losing nutrients and to losing strength for the rest of our lives. No, in what comes to calcium, in what comes to all these other substances that our body needs. When a female gets pregnant, she eliminates, or well, she transfers all these vitamins and minerals and nutrients to the baby that she carries. So it's obvious that the female capacity has to be a little bit more than the male. Now, it's very curious that in Mexico, for the generations that go from 0 to 25 years old right now, females are under the male population. Okay? That means that we're going to have naturally a decrease in the next generation. Like from when your generation is going to mate and have little children, then probably the population growth is going to slow down. Okay. Now, I should have said this before, but I don't really want you to write all the numbers. Maybe from these charts, the years, categories, and the percentages are enough. Okay. I don't want you to write the numbers from the male and female division. That's irrelevant right now. Okay. And well, from 65 years and more, it is obvious that we're going to have a diminishing population there, because it's the people that are retiring, it's the people that are the grandparents, are the ones that are more exposed to new illnesses and to natural decreasing of their functional executive, their executive functions. Okay. And this, guys, is a population pyramid, okay? The population pyramid is the same thing, the same numbers that we had before, and we are putting them in bar graph. So each bar in the graph is going to represent an age group, and on the right, as is very obvious, you have the females, and on the left, the blue and light blue bars are the males, okay? Now, a pyramid, to be a pyramid, a healthy pyramid, has to be a triangle. It has to be a triangle because it's the biological natural cycle of life. It's obvious. It's even wanted. It's desirable that a country has this type of distribution of population. It is very, very healthy. Now, don't write this because it's pretty complicated to replicate it in your notebook, but I only want you to observe, okay? Look at the Mexican one. It's obvious and it's natural that the bottom of the pyramid, the base of the pyramid, has a higher population. And it's desirable. Why? Because as time passes by, we're going to be decreasing because of illnesses, because of infant mortality, because of immigration, because of exchanges, people that go and have work or meet people from abroad and they go get married outside of the country. Okay, whatever it is that the reason, as we get older, we start, well, diminishing our activity, and maybe we just retire in another country or something, or we just die because we're more prone to sicknesses. Now, this is a healthy pyramid, we said, and look at the Germany and the Japan pyramids. They're not even a triangle. They're whatever the hell they are, but they're not a triangle. They're like a carne al pastor, una piña de carne al pastor, y el otro parece un trompo, but they are not pyramids at all. At all. Do you see that? Why do you think this could be? Tell me, why do you think from your option? Ay, Dios mío. I'm sorry, my phone activated. From Germany and Japan? Like, why? No. Here, here, why are we having like a diminishing, why are we having less children? That's the question. Why are we having less children? Why in Germany? Good, very good. We have this environmental concern that is more established in Germany, and I don't know if in Japan that's the reason. What could be another reason? Exactly, because of quality of life, right? I prefer to have a pet. I prefer to have a second master's degree. I mean, whatever it is, they're in their right and in their freedom. But people in their projects of life, they are not including anymore more children because their parents didn't have that many children either. I have a lot of students, they're not the majority, but some students that I have, they come from numerous families. They have 5 brothers or 6 sisters or 9 siblings. That's the one that I'm thinking about right now. That is in 6th semester. He has 9. There are 9 siblings, including him. So when you ask him how many children he wants to have, he says, well, 5, it's okay. 5, 6 is okay. And I'm like, whoa, 6, 5, that's so many people living under a roof. So exactly, people have an ideology and they are not included in having children. Who wants to have 16? I want to see that. I want to see that. I mean, there's no problem. Everybody has the right to decide how many children they want to have. But that's one of the reasons in Europe or in Japan, they are slowing down in the population growth. Now, this is considered an unhealthy population pyramid. Okay, an unhealthy population pyramid. Why would you say these are unhealthy as opposed to ours? Yes? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Exactly. The productivity factor is very good. I mean, it's very valid what you're saying about the environmental issues. Obviously, I mean, we are eating up the earth. I mean, that's something that we cannot deny. However, economically and socially, we have an issue right now. Okay, we have an issue. We have an issue here. Why? Because if I have, let's look at the Germany one, okay? Let's look at this one, all right? Let's only look at this one. how old are the people that is the biggest chunk in the populational pyramid, which is not a pyramid? 50 to 64. 64. These two lines, right? This one and this one. This one and this one. Okay. These people, what is their next step? They're still working, supposedly. But their next step, very, very soon, what is it? To become old and stop working, or as we could say in a more nicely way, in a more human way, they're going to retire. Okay, they're going to retire from the labor market. They're going to stop being exactly. They're going to stop being productive. No, they're not useless. They already did their share of the work, and now it's time for them to retire. Now, remember when we talked about some of the issues in the first partial? Remember that I told you that not all the money, exactly the same money that you put into the bank, is there. We have a lot of banks that have investment. They have actually gone and they have spent your money, so that if you right now give an order to the whole population in Mexico to go to their bank, whichever bank it is, national or international, and you put all the people and go at the same time, like let's say at 1 p.m. today, and they go to the bank and retrieve their cash, the banks are literally going to run out of cash. They're not going to have enough money to give you, to pay you, if everybody, every single user within Mexico goes to the bank and asks for their money. Okay, because the money has already gone to investment. So that's the same thing what happens. These people have been contributed, the two bars here, the 50 to 64 people, age people, okay, they have been contributed during 30, 40 years in the labor market. And supposedly they have given a payment every month or every bi-week so that they can have a savings for their retirement. What happens when these people retire and these two bars move up? Well, what's going to happen is that we're not going to have enough money to pay them. That's why for a lot of countries, one example is Mexico, although we do not have this problem so acute as Germany or Japan, but in Mexico, they have risen the age of retirement. I remember when my parents used to start working in the United States, the age of retirement was 62. And then as they kept on going, they raised the age to 65. And now the age of retirement is 67. They are not 67 yet. But if they would have been living like 15 years ago, 60 was the retirement age. Since they are closer to the retirement, now they haven't turned 67 and they have to wait until they turn 67. Okay, so 67, like the government starts pushing back the retirement and pension payments because they do not have enough money, and they obviously wait for some people to disappear from the face of the earth during that period of time. Okay, because the older you get, it is very natural that the tip of the pyramid becomes smaller. Okay, now you need to be thinking that these people have been already contributing to the system, to the economic system. What other issues come here? Well, imagine all the houses that were provided when these two chunks of people started being adults, and the companies built houses and they opened companies and they gave a lot of jobs to all these people because these population were needing it, and it was intelligent. Now these people move up in the pyramid and they do not have the same needs. And the people that come behind them are far, far less by a lot of millions of people in their demands. So we're going to have a shortage of demand. Less people are going to want to buy that. Okay, let's say that in your schools are another issue. Let's say you are the owner of a school, and that school is an elementary school. You go from first grade to sixth grade, and it's a private school. So you have your earnings from that business. Now, let's say that the next generation is not even going to fill up your classrooms. You're gonna be out of business, or very, very roughly meeting ends for your business. Very roughly, if ever you meet the ends, okay, if you're in equilibrium. So this brings a lot of issues. That's why we call these pyramids unhealthy, because socially, economically, even politically, they're unhealthy. Because look at politically, these people represent more voters. In an election, you're going to be represented by only the people that were the favorites of these guys. They represent a generation, and they have their ideas, values, and principles. And they're not the same as this generation, like 10 or 15 years younger. So it has political issues. It has also national identity issues. We can say that some of these races are going in extinction. Okay, they're going in extinction. And so to keep on going with the economic system, we need to invite immigrants. So as you let other people come into your country because they need to perform some tasks, then you start mixing up your race. And some people are very concerned about mixing and matching, and well, about customs and the national identity. Even in Mexico, you are very positively considering that preserving customs and traditions from indigenous tribes is something that we all want, is something desirable. And so that's why we assign money for these type of policies and government programs so that we can preserve some indigenous culture traditions. And in the same way, imagine that there's this German culture and German traditions and German identity and race, knowing that they are very, very jealous about the racial thingies and blah, blah, blah. And so when you reduce your population, then you're facing totally another issue here, a national identity issue. Okay? So that's something to think about. Alrighty? Let's keep on going. Do you have any questions about the populational pyramids? We saw Mexico. Now, is it good to reduce population? Well, environmentally, yes. Economically, no. Politically, maybe not. And culturally, not at all. Absolutely not. So there are many issues. That's why in social sciences we have these different perspectives: sociological, psychological, geographic, blah, 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 so that we can examine whatever issue not only from one perspective or from one point of view, but you have an integral perspectives, like 360 degrees, so that you can examine whatever topic in a more objective way. Okay, because if you're only conserving the environment, you're forgetting all the other aspects. And so we have to combine and find the best solution for meeting ends in all the disciplines. All right. So let's look at some of the numbers here. Okay. This is basically economic data. This is from a 2017 statistical database. We haven't had the update of 2020 yet. This is done every 3 years. The updates are done every 3 years. And well, these numbers mean a lot, okay? They mean a lot because they tell us the situation of the country. The first topic that we're gonna see during this partial is poverty, okay? And you're gonna have a little reading during the weekend so that we can explore a little bit more about this topic in Mexico. And next week, we're going to talk about the stratification. Stratification means the social classes differences, how we group people, all right? So, the gross domestic product es el Producto Interno Bruto. This is the English translation. Great. Gross domestic product calculates all the money that is produced within the Mexican borders and territory. Okay, is 2,463 trillion. Now, this is in US dollars and it's using an Anglo-Saxon system. So if 1 million has 6 zeros after that one, and 1 billion is 1,000 million, that means that we have 9 zeros after the one. A trillion is 1,000 billion. So we have 1 followed by 12 zeros. 2,463. Now, if we look at the statistics, I'm getting all my numbers from this website, the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, World Factbook, and this is pretty interesting because it has a very nice database. You go to this tab and you select the country that you want to explore. You can do whatever country that is on the face of the earth. And right now we're going to look for Mexican information. And it gives you the generalities, the flag, the map, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And if we go to the economy, well, if you go to people, we find what we just saw, the pyramids and infant mortality and all these indicators. If we go to economy, okay, let's see. This is our place. Just as we saw the table ranking the most populated countries in the world, right now we're going to look at a table which ranks the most wealthy countries in the world. So let me tell you that surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but Mexico is in the top 11 countries that are most wealthy in the whole wide world. It is very, it's very logical, but not so logical. Why? Because remember what was... Exactly. It's not well distributed. Remember in the first table, well, you don't have to remember. I can show you the first table. Okay, in the first table, what is this table showing us? Remember? Do you remember? Exactly. Look at the 2 most populated countries in the world, China and India. So by logic, we're supposed to have the most populated countries in the world should be the most wealthy countries of the world. Am I not right? Because you have more people means more money because more people are producing, but not necessarily. Even though United States have way less people, because, I mean, even though it's ranked the 3rd most populated country, the difference between number 2 and number 3 is humongous. Did you see that? It is a very big jump. Exactly. It's a very big jump. Not so from number 1 to number 2. I mean, it is humongous because it's like 70 million people, because, I mean, they have people like popcorn, but United States is very far behind. And even though United States is far behind, they're the 2nd most wealthy country in the world. But now, looking at the population differences, what would be another way to compare the wealth of the countries? Okay, another thing, because that's the production of the country. Okay, that's a production of the country. Exactly. We need to get and calculate an average. So that's the GDP, that's everything that Mexico is producing, and we are in the 11th place. All right. But then they said, well, that doesn't mean much, because remember, statistics are very important, but it's more important the way we interpret and read statistics, okay? And so we came up and we said, let's calculate the average. The average is the total GDP, the total number, divided by what? Exactly, the 128 million whatever Mexicans there are, and that gives you 19,900 US dollars per person. Counting, obviously this is not a very accurate statistic, because here we're counting the little elder person that doesn't produce, and we're also counting the little baby that was just born that is obviously not producing anything. And here, if we go to the table in which we have the average, like how much money would correspond to each person, then obviously we're not even anywhere. Okay? Whoever knows those countries, we are in number 90. You see? We're not even in the first anything. We're in number 90. And now, it is very important. Okay, I'm going to stop to present because I want to show you something. Where's the thing that I want to show you? Hold on. Here. I did the number. You're looking at me right now, right? Okay, perfect. Okay, so I did the numbers and pretending because, because of all these COVID thingy, the dollar against the peso has risen in a very, very unproportionate way. So let's pretend that these contingents, this pandemic did not happen, and we would probably be calculating the peso against the US dollar in 21 pesos, right? Just to make the numbers easier. So I want to show you how this is not real. The statistics have to be read and have to be interpreted, okay, correctly. Let's say, that's why I said, yeah, right, okay? Those 19,900 US dollars, okay, times 21 pesos approximately. I know it has some sense after that, but I said, like, just for easy purposes of calculating these more in a quicker way, I just put it in 21 pesos, okay? I want you to know and follow the operations. This is very important to make a point. So 19,900 US dollars times 21 Mexican pesos gives you 417,900 pesos, okay? That's where I got that. I multiplied the GDP per capita times the exchange rate, supposed exchange rate, if the pandemic did not happen, and that gives me that. Do you think, sincerely, that the average Mexican person, working person, earns 417,900 pesos a year? That's not even close. Maybe this is the pocket change for Carlos Slim, but it's not the reality of the world. So even when we calculate the average, this is not real. That means that talks about how bad is distributed, because it is. Numbers do not lie. So we are the 11th most wealthy country of the world. And we are not distributing money correctly. And that's one of the reasons. It's not that the country is not wealthy. It's not that the people is not talented. It's not that we are lazy. It is something totally different and factors totally aside. Okay, so if I divide 400 blah, blah, blah by 12, why did I divide it by 12? What is 12 in the year? Exactly, a monthly income of 34,850 and 25. Obviously, that's not real. It keeps being not real. Divided by 2, because here in Mexico, usually we get paid by quincena, by week. This is not even close, 17,000. Imagine, I wish we'd receive 17,000 bi-weekly, like the average Mexican. Now, let's look at this. I'm gonna switch you to my screen again. Okay, now you are looking at my screen and we're gonna look for el salario mínimo en México, ¿ok? Para que veamos que esto ni siquiera con el aumento, que quién sabe qué, esto es correcto. O sea, it's not even close. Ah, qué caray. Aquí está. Pues más o menos, dependiendo el oficio, te van dando un salario mínimo, ¿sí? Fíjate. Hay una tarifa Estos son vigentes a partir del 1 de enero del 2020. Entonces, está calculado en pesos diarios. Aquí está el porcentaje del aumento y los pesos diarios, ¿sale? Esto está vigente desde el 1 de enero. Entonces, aquí está la zona libre de la frontera norte y aquí está el resto del país. Entonces, realmente, imagínate que busquemos, ¿no? Un carpintero, bla, 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 un electricista, un ferretero, todos estos son oficios. Usually they put a lot of attention to oficios because these are the ones that are more inclined to be neglected or abused of, okay? Not so the little entrepreneur, etc., okay? Aquí está toda la variación y quién sabe qué. Pero un obrero puede estar ganando, déjame buscar el sí, podemos estar ganando 128 pesos al día. Esto es al día. So, if you divide 130, ¿ok? Para irle redondeando. Entonces, 130 entre 8 horas diarias que se trabaja, estás ganando 16 pesos la hora. La hora. La hora es demasiada pobreza, es demasiada desigualdad, ¿ok? Es demasiada desigualdad. Por eso es que, pues, examinamos esto y nuestro primer topic va a ser precisamente la pobreza en México. ¿Por qué? Pues porque es un issue totalmente cierto, ¿ok? That's what we have to say about the first statistic here. Esta tabla se las voy a mandar, se nos está viniendo el tiempo un poquito encima. Se las voy a mandar y sí quiero que la anoten, chicos, pero quiero que por favor fíjense en esto. The unemployment rate. Yes, of course you can. The unemployment rate is 2.4%. So from that people of the workforce, if we make these 54.51 million people that are in the labor force, that means they belong to this chunk in the population pyramid that are still active in what comes to economics. Okay, economically active and economically productive people, we have 54.51 million people. We are okay. That talks about a healthy population composition. If we make these 54.51 million the 100% and you make a rule of 3 and blah, 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 and calculate the unemployment rate, that being the 100%, only 3.4% of these people, not 3.4% of the 128 million people, but 3.4% out of these 54.51 people, these people are unemployed. That is a very healthy unemployment rate. That means that even if it's in the black market, even if it's an informal economy, like the ambulant people that is selling things, or this constructor guy or carpenter that comes to your mom and says, can I do your closets or whatever, and your mom never registers that ante Hacienda, okay? Even if we are talking about the informal market, we have a very low unemployment rate. That means that we're very productive, okay? Even though the salaries are very low, okay? But what happened? Okay. To end, guys, and with this idea, we finish class. I want you to look at the budget statistic. Well, now look at two things, okay? The population under poverty line is 46.2%. It's what you were saying a little while ago. What is the problem? If we are the 10th most wealthy country in the whole wide world, why is 46.2% of our people under the poverty line? Because the wealth is not well distributed. We're wealthy as a nation in total numbers, but we do not have a very good quality of life because that wealth or those privileges do not get to all people. Okay, it's not distributed evenly. Now, look at the budget. Okay, what happens when you earn less money than what you expend? Un déficit, muy bien. ¿Y cómo se llama eso? Un déficit, una deuda. So whatever we're not able to pay, we have to go into debt to meet ends, to make ends meet. Okay? And this is exactly what goes on. Now, another statistic that is very important is that 54.3% of these earnings, of this production that goes in Mexico, goes to pay the bad decisions of past presidents. You know, we have had very, very bad administrations. We have had very bad governments. So half of the things that are produced in Mexico, namely petroleum, namely gasoline, namely agricultural goods, namely whatever, goes to pay the debt. And we have a very, well, that inflation rate is in 6%. This is how Peña Nieto left it. However, you know that it's cyclical, the economy is cyclical. And well, the inflation rate in Mexico as of 2020, we can say that it has lowered. Okay, so we are in 3.14%. That is, it's not the best that we can do, but it's very acceptable. Okay, it's very acceptable. Now, what country do you know is very, very going to crisis right now in Latin America? Exactly, Venezuela. Well, Chile too, but Venezuela is worse off, okay? Venezuela right now has closed the month with, look at that. We're not talking about 3%. We're talking about 2,430.6%. That means per year, things cost 2,000 full times. That's ridiculous. And that's due to a very, very bad government. Authoritarian, communist, central, and why not? Stupid government, okay? And people say that some of these issues, some of these mistakes are the same because when Maduro or when Hugo Chavez came to power, one of the things that they started doing was a welfare state. A welfare state is a government that is very worried about the lower classes, and instead of making them produce or giving them some training so that they can start new jobs and be entrepreneurs, it gives them bonuses. It gives them economic aid in checks, in cash. And well, if you have the money to provide that extra help to your people, go ahead. But if you don't, where do you think the money that you don't have is going to come from? From debt. You're going to ask for money so that people, United States, the International Monetary Fund, or the World Bank, which is the Bank of the United Nations, lends you money. And obviously, whenever these organisms lend you money, they put many conditions on the money that they're giving you. So this is very important for you to know because everything is like a circle, a vicious circle in which one thing is interconnected with the other and the other thing and the other thing and the other thing. And everything goes round and round and round. There's no independent factor for when we talk about populational matters on economic matters, okay? Do you have any questions, guys? A ver, dígame, shoot. I think it's smart. I think our proximity to the United States would bring a lot of buts in what comes to being very pleasing towards the United States. I mean, you have to admit that we cannot just go independent like China goes independent and they can self-suffice. We cannot go independent and we would be punished. If we went independent, if we would say, we're not going to have the US dollar against the US peso, or we're not going to depend on your American currency anymore as much as we did in the past, and we're going to switch to silver standards for national reserves, they would punish us. And that punishment in the short run, in the medium term run, and in the long run is going to cost us too much. And I don't think anybody is going to go under that measure. Although, objectively, if we didn't have all these political intricate matters and favors to pay, it would be the best thing. Gold or silver or whatever thing that doesn't change. You know, like right now, people are not even buying dollars anymore. They're buying centenarios. That's why, because precious metals have proven themselves to be more stable in their economic worth. But you will have to replace your currency standards, your money, your bills, your coins, and everything. And that's expensive. Whenever there's a change in currency, it's very, very expensive. It's an investment. And objectively, yes, that would be a very nice solution. And in that way, we wouldn't have to be dependent on other nation or in the exchange rate, or if we devaluate or not. Yes, that's the answer. However, we're so buried under economic debt and we have to pay so many economic favors that United States would punish us politically and economically in a very harsh way, and it's not convenient. I don't think any president would go for that decision if it was up to them. Do you see what I mean? Like objectively, check, but politically, they have us hung by the neck. Already? Any other questions, guys? No? Already then. So for those people, I think I'm only missing 3 people. For those people that cannot see the presentation, cannot see this class, I'm gonna give Oscar a link. I recorded the session. You cannot see the sharing of the screen, but I'm gonna give you the presentation and I'm gonna give you a YouTube link so that you can get in and follow my speech with the presentation, okay? So see you guys next week and we are connected. Whatever questions that you have, please feel free to contact me through platform. And this weekend you have an activity, all right? Already, guys. Goodbye. Have a nice one. I'm going to put it for next Thursday. Like you're going to have all the weekend and the due date is Thursday so that you have enough days to complete the activity. It's a forum. Alrighty then, guys. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend. It's a forum. It's a forum. Okay? Okay, guys. Bye. Bye, sweetie. Goodbye.